Okay, well, thank you very much for this opportunity. If any of you were at the previous webinar, you'll have heard about managing menstruation and pregnancy and being a parent if you have OI. And that's sort of the early part of adult life. But I'm going into the middle and later stages of adult life. And we're going to talk today about the challenges around cervical screening, mammograms, and the menopause. Um, I've not met anyone yet who relishes these appointments, but I am grateful that we live in a country where they're available. For those that don't know me personally, I have OI, obviously. I'm in a wheelchair and I'm about a meter in height. And I would say be prepared for a bit of oversharing in the next 10 minutes. It's not something I usually do talk about these things, but we're in a good cause. So let's take the cervical screening. When I went for my first smear test, the first challenge for the GP surgery was finding a bed that I could actually transfer onto. Um, the ones in the doctor consulting room were high and they had drawers underneath, so it couldn't be lowered. Although, bless him, he did offer to pull a step out if that would help, but it didn't. Um, there was another sort of couch type bed that was very low, and this was turning into Goldilocks storyland here. But we finally found one that was just the right height and could be adapted to the right height for me to transfer across. If you can't transfer at all, these things are pretty impossible to do, I think. I mean, I'm sure people with OI find ways around it, but it really is a challenge. So once on the bed, there were requests from the doctor, like if you could just raise your bottom up a bit or bring your legs up and wider apart. And both of those are quite difficult to do if you don't have much strength. And they are also painful. And I was concerned about pushing my limbs into positions that could easily cause a fracture. They were sympathetic, but they were asking for what they needed. So somehow we got through. Um, and what we discovered is that, as well as my body being a bit out of kilter and out of line on the outside, apparently it is on the inside too. Um, Now, I only know about my own cervix, so I don't know how common that situation is. Um, and we did manage smear tests for quite a few years. But as I got older, and I think my scoliosis, my spine got worse, and I was definitely more out of line. Um, it got really difficult. I mean, everything is on the skew with nowadays. Finally, we decided that as I was low risk, I wasn't going to have any more smear tests. So that was one area where I could sort of not have to think about. So then the other thing that we ladies go through is the mammograms, aren't they a joy? The difficulties I experience are similar to the ones for the smear test in that it's trying to put your body into position that is painful. And the risk of fracture for me felt really very real and quite high. I did persist with mammograms. Some of the equipment has got better, as in more modern, so it's a little bit more easier to manage, but it still requires you to be really a certain size, I think, to get your head to one side, your shoulder out the way. And I mean, I'm pretty sure most people here have been through all this. Um, and the last one was so painful, and I felt clicks in my spine and my neck, and I thought, this is really scary. I decided then it was going to be my last ever mammogram. I was very upset, crying, which is again unlike me. Um, and so I decided that was going to be it. Well, I recently, well, last summer, received another invitation for mammogram. So I went to my GP and said, is there a way of testing this without the traditional mammogram? And I understand that you can have an MRI if it's necessary, or um, an ultrasound. So she referred me to Bath Hospital, which is fine. And I got the appointment for this Friday, which is lovely, but it says for a mammogram. And I thought, oh dear, we've lost something in translation. Um, so I rang and said, look, I think we need to just rethink this. And apparently, although I've been invited for a mammogram, that's I'm going to see a consultant. The only reason it's called a mammogram is because the computer won't let you invite anyone for anything else. So there's progress. Um, I just thought that was quite amusing, really, that the computers are now in charge. Um, so we'll see what happens on Friday. Um, so that kind of covers the mammogram. Then I said I'd talk about the menopause. And I was in about my mid 40s when my periods, which had always been really heavy and erratic in timing, suddenly stopped. Now, I presumed it was the menopause. The doctor sent me for a blood test and confirmed because I didn't have any other symptoms. I felt great, actually. And I thought, oh, this menopause thing's a breeze. And I went for almost a year without anything. I felt really well. I wasn't anemic. Um, and then too good to last. I did wonder at the time, should I do something about prolonging the hormones so that the bones would be better cared for? And should I look into this? But I have to say, I wasn't on any pills and I was feeling so good, I just put it off. So then, just under a year, the periods came back with a vengeance, along with palpitations, migraines. My inner thermostat went on the blink, so I was experiencing the heat surges. I didn't call them hot flushes because they make me sound like some Edwardian lady who's embarrassed, and I'm not. And they were really more severe than a little flush. I had brain fog, which I know is not uncommon. Remember the right word for things, or get halfway through a sentence, lose my way, all those things that women do talk about. But I think the biggest thing for me, apart from the erratic and very heavy periods, was um, experienced absolute rage at times. I've got quite a long lead usually about that sort of thing, but and I was at the time looking after my mum, and I thought, if I don't do something, this is not going to end well. So I was prescribed HRT, and it took a while to get the right medication and dosage, which is something I found in my life generally. And I don't know if that's due to my size or just me. So I'm sure the medical professionals here will know more about that. Um, but it really was tricky to get everything seemed too strong, too powerful. And finally, it was decided I should have a Mirena coil and a pill. So obviously, I didn't have the coil put in the surgery because it wasn't going to work. So I was referred to the hospital and had it done under sedation, which was fine. But anything, I thought, gosh, they'll be pulling my legs up in the air and I won't know what's going on. And it was a bit nerve-wracking, but something had to be done, and this seemed to be the only alternative. So that's, it was a needs must situation. And while the doctor was in the neighbourhood, I'd asked if he'd do a smear test as well, which he did, and that came back fine. Thank you. So this all worked really well for me for years until I had my third coil put in, and then it decided it didn't want to be there. And after a few weeks, it came out on Easter weekend, or tried to come out, so I had to go and have it removed. So that's the end of my journey of medication to help support the menopause. I found that after that, where I'd done quite well on not having I didn't have any more bleeding, but I did have the flushes and the palpitations and all that jazz. It just seemed to be delayed, but I'm pleased to say I'm a lot better now. So I'm way too old now. So this side of the menopause, though, and I don't know if it's to do with aging or because of the hormone changes, I have had more fractures, which because I'm aging, they take a bit longer to heal. My general well-being takes a bit longer to get back, but I think that's just life. So there we are. I've overshared. You can now switch yourselves back on. And thank you for the opportunity of me explaining the situation when you have OI.